All right, so are you ready to dive in? Today we're all about Twitter, like how to really make it work for you online.
Yeah, and we're going all in on this guide, Tweet Your Way to Online Success.
Catchy title, really. It promises the fastest route to online success. Like, who wouldn't want that?
Pretty bold claim.
Well, for sure. Bold claims need a deep dive.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. We'll unpack these strategies, and see what's really worth taking away.
Sounds like a plan.
But before we get lost in all the tactics and tips, let's start with the basics. What exactly are we talking about when we say tweeting?
Well, in the simplest terms, it's sharing a message with the world, but in a really concise way.
Yeah, like 280 characters or less. It's like microblogging, right?
Exactly. Short, sweet, and to the point, but don't underestimate the power of those few characters.
It's amazing how much you can say in just a few lines, and the reach is incredible.
Exactly. You can potentially connect with a global audience with just a few keystrokes.
And it's virtually free. No need for fancy marketing budgets or anything like that. You just need a good idea and a knack for concise writing.
That's what makes Twitter so powerful, especially for individuals and small businesses. It can really level the playing field.
Yeah, everyone has a voice. But of course, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. This guide talks about the difference between strategic posting and what they call annoying spamming.
Oh, absolutely. There's a fine line there. Have you ever been to a party where someone just wouldn't stop talking about themselves?
Oh, totally.
It's kind of like that on Twitter.
You don't want to be that person.
Exactly. Nobody likes a spammer. You want to be the person who's engaging in interesting conversations, sharing valuable insights, and building relationships.
So it's not just about blasting out your own message. It's about being a good conversationalist.
Right. This guide really emphasizes the importance of driving traffic back to your website or blog or whatever you're promoting.
So like using Twitter as a way to entice people to learn more about you.
Exactly. Think of your tweets as little appetizers that spark curiosity and leave people wanting more.
Oh, I like that. Luring them in with tasty digital treats. Okay, so say we've got them hooked. How do we keep them engaged once they get to our site?
That's where things like knowing the difference between posting and spamming come in. You've got to make them feel like they're part of a community, not just passive recipients of your messages.
So it's kind of like hosting a party, right? You don't just stand in the corner and expect people to come to you. You mingle, you chat, you make connections.
Precisely. The guide even calls Twitter a comparatively personal platform. Make those followers feel special.
I love that. Okay, so this next chapter is interesting. Be clear on what you are promoting. It seems obvious, but so many people get this wrong.
Oh, tell me about it. I see tweets all the time that are just a jumbled mess of hashtags and random thoughts. Like, what are they even trying to say?
Right. And you know what? I just scroll right past those. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Exactly. Clarity is key, especially on a platform like Twitter where you have such limited space.
So how do we make sure our tweets are crystal clear?
Well, this guide suggests starting with a theme. What's the one core message you want to convey? Figure that out before you even start writing.
So no more kitchen sink tweets.
No more kitchen sink tweets. Stick to one delicious dish at a time.
Okay, got it. One theme, clear message. What else?
The guide says, think about your end goal. What do you want people to do after reading your tweet?
Click on a link, visit a website, buy a product.
Exactly. And then make sure your tweet actually leads them there.
So it's all about being strategic and intentional with every single tweet.
Absolutely. You want your tweets to be like little arrows pointing people in the right direction, not just random shots in the dark.
Okay, so we've got the message down. But what about the tone? How do we make sure our tweets are coming across as, professional?
Well, that's a great question, and it's something that this guide addresses in Chapter 4. Communicate with others to convey professionalism. It's about being respectful, using proper grammar and spelling, and avoiding anything that could be perceived as offensive or inappropriate.
Right, because even though it's a casual platform, you still want to make a good impression.
Exactly. You're representing yourself or your brand with every tweet you send out. Think of it like this. If you were meeting someone for the first time in person, would you show up in your pajamas?
Probably not, unless it was a pajama party. But I get your point. First impressions matter, even online.
Exactly. And on Twitter, those first impressions happen fast. You've got to make them count.
Okay, so we've covered clarity, professionalism. What's next?
Well, let's talk about engagement, actually connecting with people on Twitter.
This is where the fun begins. I'm all about building community and having meaningful conversations.
Me too. And, this guide actually dives into the power of hashtags in Chapter 5. Learn how to participate with the community. They're like these little magical keywords that can connect you with people who share your interests.
Yeah, I've always thought of hashtags as those secret codes that unlock hidden Twitter communities. It's like finding your tribe in this vast digital world.
I love that. And it's so true. By using the right hashtags, you can tap into conversations that are already happening and connect with people who are talking about things that you care about.
So how do we know which hashtags to use? Is there some secret decoder ring for Twitter slang?
Not exactly, but it does take a little bit of research. Think about the keywords that people might use to search for information related to your tweets.
So if I'm tweeting about my awesome new sourdough bread recipe, I might use hashtags like hashtag sourdough, hashtag bread baking, or hashtag homemade food.
Bingo. You're getting the hang of it.
Okay, hashtags, got it. But what about those Twitter chats? I've heard about those, but I've never actually participated in one.
Oh, they can be a lot of fun. It's like a virtual gathering of people who are all passionate about a particular topic. And the conversations can get pretty lively. They usually happen around a specific hashtag, and there's often a moderator who keeps things flowing smoothly.
So it's like a live interactive Q&A session, but on Twitter.
Exactly. And if you're really serious about maximizing your Twitter chat experience, this guide suggests using a dedicated Twitter chat tool.
Like TweetDeck or something like that.
Exactly. These tools can help you filter out any unnecessary noise or distractions so you can really focus on the conversation. It's like having a VIP pass to the best Twitter party in town.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It is, and it's a great way to connect with people in your industry or niche.
Okay, so we've covered hashtags, Twitter chats. What else do we need to know about making the most of our Twitter account?
Well, Chapter 6 is all about that. Learn how to make the most of your account and profile. It's about optimizing your Twitter presence, making it as appealing and engaging as possible.
Ooh, I love a good makeover.
Yeah.
So where do we start?
Well, first impressions matter. So let's talk about your profile picture. Choose a high-quality image that represents you or your brand in a professional and eye-catching way.
So no blurry selfies or random vacation pics.
No blurry selfies, unless that's your brand, of course.
Yeah.
But seriously, your profile picture is the first thing people see, so you want to make sure it's a good representation of who you are. Then think about your bio. This is your chance to tell the world who you are and what you're all about.
Okay, so it's not just a random collection of emojis and inside jokes.
Well, a little bit of personality is always good, but this guide stresses the importance of using keywords and highlighting your expertise. Make it clear to people why they should follow you.
So it's like a mini elevator pitch for your Twitter presence.
Exactly. You've got limited space, so make every word count.
Okay, profile pic, bio check. What's next on the Twitter makeover list?
Let's talk about visuals. Your header image is like your digital storefront, so make it inviting and visually appealing. Choose an image that reflects your brand or personality and makes people want to learn more. And don't forget about the Twitter widget. This little tool allows you to embed your Twitter feed on your website or blog.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. It's like a little window into your Twitter world, showing people what they're missing.
Exactly. It's a great way to promote your Twitter presence and encourage people to follow you.
Okay, so we've got our profile looking sharp. We're using hashtags like pros. We're even ready to jump into some Twitter chats. Anything else we need to know?
Actually, there is. We've talked a lot about promoting ourselves on Twitter, but Chapter 7 has a word of caution for us.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What is it?
Avoid over-promoting. Nobody likes to be bombarded with constant sales pitches and bragging, even on Twitter.
Right, it's like that friend who only calls when they need something. Not cool.
Exactly. You want to build relationships, not just push your own agenda.
So it's all about finding that balance between promoting your work and providing genuine value to your audience.
Exactly. You want people to see you as a valuable member of the Twitter community, not just someone who's constantly trying to sell them something.
Makes sense.
The guide also warns against bragging and repetitive content.
Oh yeah, nobody wants to see the same tweet over and over again. It's like listening to a broken record.
Exactly. Keep your content fresh, engaging, and relevant to your audience.
So what's the secret sauce for creating tweets that people actually want to read?
Well, Chapter 8 is all about that. It's called Following and Using Relevant Tweets. This chapter encourages us to be strategic about the content we consume on Twitter and to use hashtags to find and follow accounts that are relevant to our interests.
It's like curating our own personal Twitter newsfeed, filled with information that's actually useful and engaging.
Exactly. And, by following the right people and participating in relevant conversations, we can position ourselves as thought leaders in our industries or niches.
So it's not just about broadcasting our own messages. It's about listening, learning, and contributing to the larger conversation.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about hashtags, but this guide seems to really emphasize their importance.
Oh, absolutely. Hashtags are like these little threads that connect us to the wider Twitter tapestry. They allow us to weave our voices into the ongoing conversation and make our tweets more discoverable.
I love that metaphor. So are you saying that hashtags are like the secret weapon for Twitter success?
They're definitely a powerful tool, but like any tool, they need to be used strategically. This guide recommends using a mix of popular and niche hashtags to reach a wider audience.
So it's not just about using the most popular hashtags. It's about finding the ones that are most relevant to your content and your audience.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where your tweets can be seen by the right people.
Okay, I'm feeling pretty hashtag savvy now. But there's so much data on Twitter. How do we make sense of it all?
That's a great question, and this guide actually addresses that in the final chapter.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, it encourages us to analyze the popularity and responsiveness of our tweets. Pay attention to which tweets get the most likes, retweets, and comments.
So it's like doing a little Twitter science experiment.
Exactly. By tracking these metrics, we can start to see patterns and identify what types of content resonate most with our audience.
That's awesome. I'm all about data-driven decision-making, even on Twitter.
Me too. And one last thing this guide emphasizes is the importance of learning the language of Twitter.
Oh, you mean deciphering all those abbreviations and acronyms that make my head spin? Like SMH and ICYMI.
Exactly. It's like learning a new dialect, one that's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
But once you master the lingo, you'll be able to participate more effectively in conversations and connect with a wider audience.
Okay, challenge accepted. I'm ready to embrace my inner Twitter linguist.
That's the spirit.
So where do we go from here? We've covered a lot of ground today.
I know. We've explored the ins and outs of tweeting, from crafting the perfect message to mastering the art of hashtags. But before we wrap things up, let's take a quick look at what else is out there.
You mean other social media platforms?
Exactly. There are so many ways to connect with people online these days, and while Twitter is a great place to start, it's not the only game in town.
So what other platforms should we be exploring?
Well, one that's been gaining a lot of traction lately is Threads. It's a microblogging app that's designed for sharing text updates and joining public conversations. Sound familiar?
It does sound a bit like Twitter. So are you saying that the strategies we've learned from Tweet Your Way to Online Success can also be applied to Threads?
Absolutely. Many of the core principles of engaging content creation, strategic hashtag use, and community participation are universal across these platforms. It's all about adapting the tactics to the specific nuances of each platform.
That's great to know. So are we ready to dive into the world of Threads?
Let's do it. So before we went to, look at other platforms, we were talking about finding your Twitter voice and really connecting with those people that are, interested in what you have to say. So how do we grow that following? How do we make the most of our Twitter account? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's easy to get caught up in the numbers game, right? Like, How many followers do I have? How many likes did I get? But it's really about more than just the numbers.
That's such a good point. It's not about having a massive following. It's about connecting with the right people. People who are actually interested in what you have to offer. People who can contribute to the conversation.
Right, because a large following doesn't necessarily translate into engagement or impact.
Exactly. It's like throwing a party, right? Would you rather have a huge party with a bunch of people you barely know or a smaller gathering with close friends who are all genuinely interested in spending time together?
I'd definitely choose the smaller gathering with close friends.
Yeah.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the same goes for Twitter. It's about building a community of like-minded people who are interested in what you have to say.
So how do we find those people? How do we attract them to our Twitter party, so to speak?
Well, this guide actually offers some really practical advice on that. It suggests using Twitter to find and add new contacts. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to people who share your interests or who are working in your industry.
So it's like attending a virtual networking event.
Exactly. You can strike up conversations, introduce yourself, and see if there's a potential connection.
It's all about putting yourself out there. What about after that initial connection, though? Is there anything we can do to nurture those relationships?
Oh, absolutely. This guide really emphasizes the importance of a personalized follow-up. Like, if you come across someone's profile that you find interesting, take a minute to send them a quick message. Introduce yourself. Tell them why you decided to follow them.
That's a great tip. It's so much more personal than just clicking the follow button and hoping for the best. It shows that you're actually interested in connecting with them.
Exactly. It's those little touches that can make a big difference.
Okay, so we're reaching out to individuals, but what about promoting our Twitter presence more broadly? Any tips on that?
Definitely. The guide suggests leveraging your other social media platforms. Tell your Facebook friends and your Instagram followers where to find you on Twitter.
Right. Cross-promotion is key. It's like putting up flyers for your Twitter party all over town.
Exactly. And don't forget about your email signature.
Oh, that's a good one. I always forget about that.
It's such an easy way to promote your Twitter account. Just add a link to your profile and your email signature and boom, instant promotion.
I'm adding that to my to-do list right now.
And while we're talking about promoting your Twitter presence, the guide actually offers a word of caution in Chapter 7.
A word of caution. I'm all ears.
It's about avoiding over-promotion.
Oh, I've definitely seen those accounts that are just a constant stream of self-promotion. It's exhausting.
It is. Nobody wants to be bombarded with sales pitches and bragging all the time, even on Twitter.
It's like that friend who only calls when they need a favor, right? You'll win the type.
Exactly. You want to build genuine relationships, not just push your own agenda.
So it's all about finding that balance between promoting your work and providing value to your audience.
Exactly. You want people to see you as a valuable member of the Twitter community, not just someone who's constantly trying to sell them something.
So less me, and more let's have a conversation.
Exactly. And that actually leads us nicely into Chapter 8, which encourages us to be more mindful about the content we're consuming on Twitter.
Oh, that's an interesting twist. So we're not just creators, we're also curators.
Exactly. The guide emphasizes following and using relevant tweets. It's all about being strategic with the accounts we follow and the hashtags we use. Think of it like creating your own personalized Twitter newsfeed.
Yeah, like a curated collection of the most interesting and relevant tweets.
Precisely. And, by following the right people and participating in relevant conversations, we can establish ourselves as thought leaders in our respective fields.
It's all about becoming a valuable resource for your followers, someone they can turn to for insights and information.
Exactly. And on that note, the guide also suggests paying attention to what your competitors are doing on Twitter.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like friendly competition.
Exactly. By observing what's working for others in your industry, you can gain valuable insights and refine your own Twitter strategies.
It's like they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Exactly.
But with all this talk about hashtags and engagement and competition, it seems like there's a lot of data to keep track of on Twitter. Is there a way to make sense of it all?
Absolutely. That's where analytics come in. This guide suggests analyzing the popularity and responsiveness of your tweets. Pay attention to which tweets get the most likes, retweets, and comments.
So it's like doing a little Twitter science experiment.
Exactly. By tracking these metrics, you can start to see patterns and identify what types of content resonate most with your audience. It's all about data-driven decision-making.
I love that. Data is power, even on Twitter. So as we wrap up our exploration of this Twitter guide, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I think this guide offers a really comprehensive overview of how to use Twitter effectively. It's full of practical advice and actionable tips that anyone can use to improve their Twitter presence.
I agree. I feel like I've learned so much about tweeting my way to online success. But as we've been discussing, Twitter is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Exactly. It's important to have a well-rounded online presence, which means leveraging other platforms as well.
So are we ready to venture beyond the Twitterverse and explore some other social media landscapes?
Absolutely. There are so many exciting platforms out there waiting to be discovered.
Okay, so we've talked about Twitter. We've even dipped our toes into the world of threads. But I think, before we wrap up this whole deep dive on online success, there's something we should touch on.
I'm with you. What's on your mind?
Well, we've gone deep into strategies and tactics, but social media, at its core, it's all about people.
Absolutely. It's about connecting with real people, sharing ideas, fostering a community.
Right. And I think sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that in this, fast-paced, data-driven world.
It's easy to get caught up in the numbers, the algorithms, the whole, going viral thing. But real connections, those are what matter most.
Exactly. It's like, think about the difference between sending a mass email and writing a handwritten letter. The email reaches more people, sure, but a letter, that's personal.
That's a great analogy. That personal touch makes all the difference. And honestly, that's what often gets lost in the social media frenzy.
So how do we find that balance then? How do we be strategic, reach our goals, but also stay authentic and build genuine connections?
That's the question, isn't it? And I don't think there's like a magic formula, but I do think it starts with being intentional.
Intentional, how so?
Well, instead of just, passively scrolling, actually engage. Respond to comments, ask questions, be present in the conversation.
Because it's about making social media a two-way street, not just a platform for broadcasting our own stuff.
Exactly. Be a listener, be a learner, be a contributor to the community. That's where the magic happens.
The magic.
Yeah. Those unexpected connections, those sparks of inspiration, those moments where you meet someone and think, wow, I never would have found this person without social media.
It's like, those chance encounters you have at a conference or something. The ones that lead to amazing collaborations or even friendships.
I love that. And the thing is, social media is constantly changing. New platforms are popping up all the time. Algorithms are shifting. It's a dynamic landscape.
So how do we keep up?
By being curious. Be willing to experiment, try new things, see what works, and don't be afraid to, pivot if something's not working.
That's great advice. So as we wrap up this deep dive into tweeting our way to online success, what are your final thoughts?
I think this guide gave us some solid tools, some practical strategies we can use to, make Twitter work for us. But at the end of the day, it's about being authentic, connecting with people, and honestly, having a little fun along the way.
Well said. It's been a fantastic journey exploring the world of Twitter, and I'm feeling super inspired to put all this knowledge into action. What about you?
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what we can achieve, both on Twitter and beyond. And who knows, maybe our paths will cross in a Twitter chat sometime soon.
That would be awesome. So to all of our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, the most important thing is to be yourself, have fun, and use these platforms to connect with others in a meaningful way. Until next time, happy tweeting, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.